man, the fuel prices are becoming more expensive. Now, surely they will go down for a bit, but they jump right up to usually above $2 per liter. And obviously, in times of inflation, it's more sensible to get something, better on fuel, like a Corolla hybrid, or maybe even EVs. But hey, you are in the wrong channel, right? You are here because we all make bad financial decisions, and I make very bad financial decisions. That's why this is my latest acquisition, a 2003 S600 Mercedes with a V12. And this thing is really bad on fuel, but hey, it's a V12 and it's my first ever V12. And you must be wondering, why am I holding a pack of tissues? Because this car has only one owner. It's done 155,000 kilometers and it has barely driven for the past probably about 6 or 7 years. Now, because this car only has one owner, and the guy that founded Kilton, ABC Tissues, the original founder of the company, this is his car. Now, he passed away in 2018, and this car barely driven since. And I was able to pick this one up for 5% of its original value. Now, this car is more than $350,000 brand new, including all the options that it has. And it's really, really crazy. I picked this up. I'm not going to disclose the price of this car because it is way under market value, because this car on the market right now, they are going for about $20,000 to $30,000, right? Maybe even more. It depends on the condition. But this being a one owner and with sort of low case for this age, it is a pretty good deal. So 5% of its original value, I really cannot complain. Now, even being one of the most hated S-Class of all time, I genuinely really like this. And videos do not do any justice at all, because in person, it is so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful cars that I ever had. And I really don't like the pictures or how I video it when it turns out, because if you stand in person, this looks amazing. Now, being one of the most hated S-Class, I like it. It's also my guilty pleasure, and also I don't think it deserves the hate. Now, I've been wanting one of these S-Class for a long time, and what really sets me back is obviously the suspension, and I just couldn't find a facelifted one with a decent condition. I either want the 500 with V8 or the 600, but when this popped up for sale, I just couldn't say no. Right? I just have to take the financial suicide just to own one of these, because as time goes on, they are getting old and things start to break, and it's even harder down the future to own one of these modern classes. So in this video, I will take you on a tour. I will tell you what I like and what I do not like about this car, and obviously it's no surprises now that I love hatches and I love lanyards. There's no in between. I feel like in between they are kind of boring, but this together with my Statesman, it's a pretty nice addition to the family. So I'm gonna bring you on a tour of this car, and we'll take it for a drive. Let's go. Even though it has done 155,000 Ks, it still has its own imperfections. Like example, it's actually missing an underbody pan, and this side of the front bar, it actually has it's just awful. It just looks awful. If you stand from a distance, you can actually see it. It's not pretty. It has a bit of the chrome has sort of melted off. Got a rash, a few dents here and there, a couple of very minor scratches, which I'm hoping it will come out with a paint correction. A big scratch right on the boot, and just very, very minor dings, scratches here and there. And again, this car is 22 years old. For its condition, for its age, I would say it has done pretty well. The thing that upsets me the most is definitely on the front bar, but I don't think that's an easy fix. I will have to either get a new front bar or I'll see what I can do. The headlights are starting to fade, which is really common on these now. If you see this on the road now, half of them would have yellow headlights, and to get them really clean, it's also one of my goal of this car to keep this as showroom condition as possible. Obviously, I've said this already. Now, photos, videos, they don't do any justice because this car, it is just so beautiful. Originally, I do not like silver color cars. I always get either white or black being my preferred color, but even then, this car, it is genuinely gorgeous, and being only 155,000 Ks, I think it's done all right. So go walking around this car. This car is very subtle. Like, you wouldn't know what you're looking at unless you know what you're looking at. Obviously, you have a V12 badge at the front. It just looks like any other Mercedes S-Class. One thing about the facelifted one, they actually have updated the headlights. I really don't like the pre-facelifts, and I always wanted to try to aim for the facelifted version, and obviously this being a facelift, I think it's a pretty good buy. Other than the V12 badge, a S600, that's the badge to look for. It is actually ginormous, right? It is actually really big. Now, going on the inside, it is spacious as well, and you have the outdated infotainment system. As with a lot of cars in the early 2000s, there is no cup holders. So if I open here, this is not a cup holder, this is not a cup holder, and this, I mean, it's barely a cup holder. If you put, you know, like, it can barely support your drink. There's no cup holders here. There's also no cup holders on the passenger side. There's no cup holders here, and there's no cup holders here as well. But you do have a fancy thing to connect to your phone, which I don't actually have the phone, so, you know, I guess that's unfortunate. But yeah, there's no cup holders, right? Keep in mind, if you do want to get one of these cars, there's no cup holders. Yeah, I do not like this color because once it gets stained, it is very hard to clean, but they do look awesome when they are clean. So the interior is pretty straightforward. These seats are amazing. I had a few Mercedes before. This is sort of like my first S-Class experience, and I gotta say, it lived up to its hype, right? S-Class is all about the best of everything, and surprisingly, it has a lot of modern comforts. It's one of the first cars to have Distronic, which is a Mercedes version of a smart cruise control. So like, if the car's in front, if it brakes or if it slows down, it will actually keep a distance. And also, it's one of the first few cars to actually have the pre-safe brakes. So if somehow a pedestrian jump into in front of the car, this car will actually brake for you. It's one of the very few cars in 2003 to actually have that. So overall, it is very spacious. It is pretty well spec'd as well. Now, you will be surprised, a lot of S-Class, the S350s, the S430s, they are pretty poor, well equipped, because everyone just wants an S-Class, but they don't actually want to check all of the options. Now, moving on to the back seat, this back seat, oh man, like, this is what I'm talking about, right? If you have been following the channel, you would know I absolutely love the back seats and how comfortable it is. Now, this car is also meant for you to be chauffeured in. It's not so much on the front seat, it's all about the back seat. And the back seat, it is amazing. You have heated and cooled seats. What's more interesting is you can actually control the front seat by pressing this button, like this button on the forward, and these controls actually controls the front seat just in case you want the seat to be a little bit forward and you want more space at the back. You can actually do that. That is actually really cool. And the back seat is just, you feel like a mafia boss and being chauffeured around, let's just put it that way. And you know what, there's plenty of room for activities. Oh man, like, It's not so much compared to Holden's, because Holden's it feels more like a couch, but this feels like a sofa of a luxury home, right? As well as now, if you want to do your makeup, you actually can look at yourself in the mirror at the back, and it is one of my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite features, and you have Alcantara roof lining as well, which is amazing. Right, and also you have these privacy shades, so just in case if you don't want to be seen or you just want to be shaded off from the sun, the privacy screen is there. The rear shade, it comes up as well. It is pretty cool. Now, by far my favorite feature of this car, it gotta be the soft close doors. Wow, look at that. Not only it closes solid, the soft closed doors, it's just wow. This is amazing. All right, the main party trick of this car, it is under the bonnet. All right, let's pop the bonnet. Pull this tab and do it with one hand. This is the main party trick of this car. M275 V12, and it pushes out about 500-ish horsepower, 800 Newton meters of torque. This car, it doesn't lack power. Now, the difference between the pre-facelifts and the facelifts, the pre-facelifts doesn't have turbos, right? It has a 5.8 V12, but this has a 5.5 biturbo V12, so you have extra 100-ish horsepower, and it's not slow. It basically pushes your guard when you put your foot down. Now, this car drives amazing. Now, one thing about this car is when it's at park or neutral, you can't actually freely rev this car. This car has a soft limiter, so if I try to rev it, you're only stuck at like just 2,800,000 RPMs. Even my foot is foot down, it would just go to 3,000 RPM. It wouldn't, there's a soft limiter and it wouldn't allow you to rev past higher than that. I have no idea why. Probably this car wasn't meant to be sporty, even though it has a ton of power. It is meant to be luxurious. Alright, let's go. Now, the first thing you will realize about this car is everything is so quiet. Now, even though this car is 22 years old, I cannot actually hear any rattles. There's literally zero rattles. You can hear the note of the V12, but it's not like obnoxious like how like a straight pipe exhaust would sound. It is very subtle. Everything about this car, even Mercedes at this era, everything is just very subtle. And here's one thing I really like about it is just so quiet, right? And if you put your foot down, oh man, the torque, it is gut-wrenching. 800 Newton meters. I'm just turning onto a main street here, so put my foot down. Oh jeez. Oh man. I love really high torque cars, and this V12 is no exception. Now, it's so, man, like, not only it's fast, the torque is insane, and everything is just so quiet. It's like riding on a magic carpet. I know I've said that a few times already, but wow, it is so good. And you can feel everything. You know, you have a leather dash, a Alcantara roof lining, and everything just feels really well put together. It's something that it's kind of lost, right? A lot of modern luxury cars, they want to be sporty, they want to make their cars aggressive, but this kind of old school Mercedes luxury, oh, this is I still can't get over like how torquey these cars are. This is so good. Oh man, I just feel like the torque is actually rearranging my gut. It just pushes you back on the seat in the most elegant way. This is how I put it. And oh man, like the ABC, even though if you put it into a sport mode, I'm never in comfort mode, because comfort mode actually starts the car in second gear, and I'm not a fan of that. It feels very sluggish. So I actually put my transmission into sport mode. There's comfort and sport. There's only two modes on this car. And even with ABC Sport, the suspension in sport mode, you don't actually feel like on coilovers, like on really harsh coilovers, you just feel it's a little bit more firm. It's a little bit more, like tight. Generally speaking, this car, it is pretty reliable, except for one thing, and this is sort of like the Achilles heels for this car. Now, the V12, the M275, is not known to have issues. It is pretty reliable with the 5-speed box. Now, the one thing that is catastrophic on this car is not about if it happens, is when it will happen. It's ABC system. ABC stands for Active Body Control, is what Mercedes call it. Is their hydraulic suspension. So as with most cars, like you don't really worry about suspension too much until it's making a noise. Not so much for this car. You have to basically do your homework and really know how the system works, because it's a totally different new ball of game. 4 moving parts. You have the pump, which is the tandem pump with the power steering. Number 2, you have the valve block. It's a thing that pushes your pressure into different corners. And then you have your actuators. The third part is the actuators. And then you have the strut itself. The key is to understand when each part fails, what kind of symptoms to look for. Now, the key with the ABC system is to actually change your fluid every 12 months like you would with your engine oil. And also, basically, if something breaks, you want to replace either the actuator or each strut or the valve block or the seals or the pump. It is really not that complicated at all. Now, a lot of people, they recommending when something fails, they want to change it to a coilover system, but I do not recommend that at all, because this is where the magic is. It's the hydraulic experience. It is basically like a magic carpet ride, and no other cars, and I kid you not, I've driven so many cars at this point, I kid you not, no cars rides as well as this. Second to the Mercedes M-Matic. I had an E500 and the suspension is amazing. Now, I'm gonna start the car, and I'm gonna lift the car up and drop it down, and you can see how fast it actually works, and it is actually amazing. All right, let's go and check it out. Now, the key of longevity of these systems is to actually, when you park it, you want to lift it on the lifted position by pressing this twice, and keep the car lifted up while you park it, so it locks the system in place, so that way it doesn't have a lot of pressure on the system. It will actually last longer if you like park the car on the lifted position. Overall, this is gonna be a great cruiser, and one thing about driving this car is the ABC system, because the ABC, when it goes, you cannot just keep driving. You have to park it, because if you run the system dry, what happens is it will burn out the pump pretty quickly, and you will find yourself buying a new pump which costs thousands of dollars. Every single part of the ABC system basically costs thousands, right? One corner you'll cost $2,000 per corner. The pump itself, it costs thousands. The valve block itself costs thousands. The actuators, they don't really cost that much, and again, everything adds up pretty quickly. So the last thing you want to do if the ABC fails, if you see the light, visit the workshop, or the red famous failing light, you don't want to drive it anymore. So that's the only thing that I'm anxious about this car. The rest of the car is pretty straightforward. It's just basic standard older S-Class stuff. If something breaks, if something falls off, like the door panel, I can easily get a replacement. Not so much on the ABC system. The maintenance of this car do scare me a little bit. Now, when I was looking through the maintenance history of this car, now this car has been on top of its maintenance like no other, and it recently had its engine removed for its engine mounts. Now, when it's time to replace the engine mounts, the whole engine has to come up, and also the maintenance of this car, it is insane. Now, this car, even though it's a V12, it has 24 spark plugs. Now, imagine if you have to do not just 4 spark plugs, not just 8 spark plugs on the V8. You have to do 24 spark plugs on this car if you do have to change its spark plugs. Thankfully, it recently got a full engine out, a full sort of like tune-up, engine mount, spark plugs. I'm not sure about the coil plugs because the coil plugs is one of the very common things to go on this car. And it's like 1 bank and 2 bank, and 1 bank has basically 12 spark plugs on each bank, and it's gonna be very costly just on basic maintenance. Normal car maintenance is pretty straightforward. It makes maintaining a basic car child's play, and it sort of scares me a little bit to drive this car often. Obviously this car doesn't like to sit, so I don't plan to just put it somewhere and don't drive it. I plan to drive this thing regularly. In terms of mods, I don't really plan to mod this car. This is just not the car for it. This is just gonna be a cruiser. I'm just gonna keep it up as clean as possible. We'll make it a collector's item. This is just basically gonna be part of my collection. So this sums up about my first V12, my Mercedes V12 S600. So now let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't followed me on Instagram already, do follow me down here. I do post updates and behind the scenes stuff, so stuff before it gets to YouTube. If you want to see all up-to-date stuff, go follow my Instagram. And with that being said, I really appreciate all of you guys for watching. I thank you for the bottom of my heart. Let's build this channel together. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, let me know down in the comments. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Alright.